Hey, all you book sniffers. I am super excited to introduce you to a new book series, or actually an old book series that I just discovered for kids. Get ready to dig into a wicked history. So, when I was in school, I was assigned to find a nonfiction book that appealed to reluctant readers, and I found this amazing series and fell in love hard and fast. It is marketed to mid-grade readers from 6th to 8th grade, and it is super exciting. So I'm going to show you some of the elements that make this book series fantastic for these kids. One of the things that really sucks a reader in and makes them want to pick up a book is the covers. And these covers are amazingly designed. Scholastic did a great job creating these awesome covers with these almost cartoonish looking characters, and they have been tagged. So we've got Gregory Rasputin tagged as Wicked, and Catherine the Great as the despot, and so on and so forth. I love the egotist, Napoleon. We've got Attila the Hun, and Julius Caesar is Imperious. These are fantastic book covers that do their job at selling the books, and that is what you want your book covers to do. You want them to grab the attention of those readers. So these book covers, of course, do a fantastic job. But we're going to talk about Genghis Khan here. He was labeled as ruthless. All right, so something that you may not know about Genghis Khan is that he didn't really have a lot of his history written down. In fact, most of his stories are told word of mouth. Another interesting fact about Genghis is that he did not want people to do his portrait. All the portraits that we have of him are actually people who have remembered him from past memory, or they were done in secret. Genghis was obviously a loner and probably just was very much a private person. So Genghis obviously was a very interesting person, but this is more about the book. So we're going to talk about some of the features that this book has. This book is obviously equipped with a table of contents, and it is divided into 3 parts. There's about 120 pages, and there's 22 chapters. Each chapter is short to keep the attention of the reader, and the book also includes maps, portraits, timelines, glossaries, and all kinds of things that the kids might find interesting so that they can stay engaged and understand that this was a real life person and had a real life that they could probably relate to in some way or another. What really sucked me in about this book was that it continually kept my attention. It is a fast read. It reads very much like a story would, but it is also highly engaging. And so I believe that kids that don't necessarily find a lot of interest in nonfiction would actually find these books quite interesting. They're very well written, and it really did honestly suck me in. And I didn't usually like history as a kid, so this is something that I think would have really kind of changed my mind about history. All right, so another really awesome feature about this book is how the fonts were very creatively done, and each section was labeled. So this particular section was labeled The Step, and it was like his early childhood section, but I really loved how the fonts were done in these sections. It really kind of was engaging. One of the things that I think a lot of people underrate is the font and the way the book is organized. The author's note and bibliography is often my favorite section of a book. I love reading about how an author found the information and what they got out of writing the book. And this book, of course, had that because it is a nonfiction book. This should be included in all nonfiction type books, but I really enjoyed reading about them. Another feature of this book was this Find Out More section. I loved this. So this included books that the kids might want to read, websites they might want to check out to continue searching at and finding more information on Genghis Khan. I loved this section. I felt like this was an awesome resource for these kids. I could get a little bit on a soapbox right now and talk a bit about how, historical figures have shaped our societies and how important it is for kids to really engage in nonfiction and historical figures. So this is a really great way to encourage them to continue on with that research. One of these other features that was included in this book was this timeline, and I love timelines. It totally helps put things into context, and this book, of course, has that for Genghis. And what's interesting is, a lot of these dates are probably guessed, like we said before. His history is very much kind of guesswork and based on other people's histories. So that is something to consider when you're studying specifically Genghis Khan. This book actually has some awesome illustrations included in the history. Most of them were pulled from other histories because, that's kind of the way they had to do this. But this is actually a portrait of Genghis Khan's son, Ogadai. And he was actually, I guess he kind of inherited the kingdom after Genghis Khan died, but his story, of course, is interweaved inside there. These are also some other pictures of Genghis Khan. It's interesting that still today the Mongols live in yurts, and so they have these pictures of these modern yurts out there, but Genghis Khan lived in these things, and they haven't much changed from those ancient days. So it's interesting to see a real photograph interweaved in here, but it is so fun to actually see how these people lived and how they continue to live today. One of the things that I absolutely loved about Genghis is he's kind of a misunderstood character. A lot of the things that he did because of the way he was raised, because of the culture that he belonged to, and actually he was considered merciful by many of his followers, which is one of the reasons why he was made Khan. He wouldn't have been made Khan, I don't think, over all the Mongol tribes if they didn't want to follow him. Although he was fearsome to some, he was to the people he ruled very, very generous. And so I thought that was very interesting. So what this book does, and I hope that's what the whole series does, although I haven't read the whole series, I'm assuming that they all do this, but they give the kids the chance to make their own judgment call on these people. So specifically with Genghis Khan, this book was very objective when it came to giving all the information about Genghis Khan that they had, so that the kids could make the judgment call basically on whether or not he was ruthless, vicious, or whatever, if she was a despot, or if he was an egotist. Those labels are often given to people without us fully understanding their backgrounds and where they come from. So this book did a fantastic job of helping the kids make that call and allowing them to have the full story. And I highly recommend these books to kids who are interested in doing a report, or if they're interested in reading more about just historical figures in general. And I hope you enjoyed this book review, and I hope you guys keep sniffing those books.